G'day, I'm Blair. Today we're going to do a magnificent Scotch fillet pepper steak with chilli, paprika, cracked black pepper and salt. The first step is to warm your barbecue up, and you do that by holding the button down, turning the button to high, waiting for ignition to happen. You'll hear it ignite with a whoo, and having ignited the barbecue you would close the hood to allow it plenty of time to warm up. What we have here is a wonderful piece of grain-fed Scotch fillet, and the first thing to do is to make sure it's at room temperature. It's very important that it not be straight out of the fridge. To make sure that it's perfectly dry and free of any moisture or blood, so that that fluid doesn't chill down the surface of the plate. Cut approximately 1-inch thick slices of Scotch fillet. And you can see the wonderful marbling effect on quality meat. When you're cutting your Scotch fillet, you want to cut it across the grain and around about 25 millimeters thick, because at the end of the cooking process it will shrink a little bit. And then I'm going to create a pepper steak, mixing a number of ingredients together in a bowl and rubbing those onto the steak. So I'm now going to prepare the spice mixture, and to do that I'm going to use a full teaspoon of sweet Hungarian paprika and add that to a mixing bowl. Obviously the mixing bowl needs to be nice and dry. Then we're going to add about half a teaspoon only of cayenne pepper. You could use chili powder, works just as well. Both are very spicy, so don't overdo it. And then we're going to crack a whole bunch of fresh black peppercorns. It's really important to use fresh cracked black pepper because it's far more aromatic, and the coarser the pepper grains after cracking them, the less intensely spicy they'll be. So you're going to need plenty of them. So don't muck around, just get right in there and grind as much as you think you're going to need. Normally a couple of teaspoons for 2 to 4 steaks. To finish off, we want to season it with some salt. You can see the spice mixture is reddish in colour. Mix it all around, and then we'll apply it to the meat. So we just want a light coating of olive oil on both sides, and that will help for the spice mixture to stick to the steak in a nice even way, and we'll get an excellent result with beautiful spicy steak. So sprinkle the herbs and spices on, just my hand works really well, and then distribute it across the surface of the steak, and do so on both sides. And then in a moment we're going to check to see that the plate temperature is where we need it to be. It is important before you start cooking that the plate temperature not be too hot, but certainly not too low. So you can always bring the temperature up, but it's hard to cool it down later. One way to check is to put the olive oil on, just a small amount. If it flows out fairly quickly and starts to form bubbles on the inside of a small amount of olive oil, you know the temperature's pretty close to being right. So I'm now going to add more olive oil. When I spread the olive oil out thinly, you'll see it actually takes on a lot more heat, a lot more quickly. Spread it out across the plate until it forms a thin film. Give it a few seconds to warm up. So you can see how the olive oil is fuming. That means it's at the right temperature, and it's also starting to char in the centre a little bit. When we add the meat to the plate, you need to move it around to spread the chilling effect of the room temperature meat across the surface of the plate to avoid sticking, and then just leave it in a fixed position. And likewise with the second piece, and the aromas of the pepper and the steak are already starting to come through very strongly. And the third piece. Now it's really important with steak that you only cook it on one side once and on the second side once. That means that it's only ever to be turned once. So around about 2 or 3 minutes on one side will give you a medium rare result, and slightly less than that will give you a rare result. Now, if you've got a lot of pieces of steak on the plate, you're covering the entire area. To get more access, you might want to remove the warming tray. So we're actually going to use the warming tray later to allow the steak to rest in order for the meat fibres to reabsorb the fluids. You can just lift up one edge of the steak. You can see that's browning up quite nicely, and it's now possible to turn the first piece over for a rare steak. Once again, you need to move it around to spread the chilling effect of the cold side of the steak across the hot plate. and we move it to a different location. As long as you can see that the olive oil is frying vigorously around the edges but not spattering, then you've got the right plate temperature. The stainless steel plates that are featured in lifestyle barbecues are made from a thermally conducting grade of stainless steel, so they spread the heat out beautifully. When the blood starts to come through on either the first or the second side, as you can see now, the steak is cooked. And just a few more seconds for a well done result, and then we'll remove that from the plate. When you finish cooking the steak pieces, you really should allow them to rest for a couple of minutes on the warming rack so that they stay warm. Then when you do slice the meat open, you won't find anywhere near as much of the juices running out after you've cut the pieces. So you've got a wonderful pepper steak served with a very simple salad, and that'll keep the hungry hordes at bay, and absolutely delighted with your professionalism as a chef.